Hey guys, it's Haley and welcome to another bookish video. Today we're going to be getting into my July TBR, and that is everything that I want to read in the month of July. Now this TBR is pretty ambitious. I'm going to be totally honest. I'm probably not going to read all these books, which I usually don't every month, but this is what I'll be interested in, what I will be mood reading from, kind of the group of books that will be the possibilities of what I could read in July. I have a couple vlogs, some horror, some thriller, and some romance. Very standard Haley fare. So let's go ahead and get into it. Starting out with probably the vlog TBR that I'm the most excited for. I'm gonna be reading all of the new release horror movie slash slasher books that are coming out. Starting out with I Was a Teenage Slasher by Stephen Graham Jones. I don't know anything about this book, nothing about the synopsis at all, and that is perfectly fine with me because I love to go in blind to Stephen Graham Jones books. There's such a unique, trippy kind of writing style that it either totally hits for me or it completely misses. So we will see about this one, and obviously we can tell that it plays on some horror movie tropes, and it is of course a slasher, which I think this author does best. So I'm looking forward to it. I also have The House That Horror Built by Christina Henry. Another Christina Henry book, Good Girls Don't Die, has been a favorite of mine this year, so I have pretty high hopes for this one as well. We are following a woman in this book who is like a huge horror movie buff. She knows all the facts, she knows all the things, she has the memorabilia, and she gets a job working in this gothic mansion that is owned by a famous director of some of her favorite horror movies. So she's cleaning and she's going through seeing all of the memorabilia and all of the things, and she's kind of fangirling until she sees something kind of shady, and she's hearing weird noises and she thinks that something odd is going on in this house that horror built. If you don't know, this is a reference to New Line Cinema, which is referred to as the house that Freddy built because the production company was completely flopping and failing until they produced A Nightmare on Elm Street with Wes Craven, which of course is a horror classic. So I love to see that kind of a reference in there. I'm wondering if there's going to be any more Wes Craven references throughout the book. Moving right along with this vlog, we have How to Make a Horror Movie and Survive by Craig DeLuey, and this is about a camera that was used to film some kind of like over the top, over dramatic horror movie, and it's set in the 80s where this director, who's been really good at cranking out these slashers, like typical 80s slashers, discovers the camera and he's like, I have to use this to shoot my next movie, but there's something not quite right with it. So he and the would-be final girl get into it with this specific camera. I would say out of all of the ones for this vlog, this is the one that I'm the most nervous for. I don't like how everything is based around a camera. Like, that just doesn't necessarily sound super interesting to me. It also sounds like it's gonna be like haunted of, you know, the past actors or whoever was filmed on the camera beforehand, and I don't really love a haunting, so we'll see how this one goes. It is set in the 80s and it is fairly short. I believe it's like, oh no, it's actually like 400 pages. Just kidding, it's not short. This one might be a little hard for me. The last book I'll be reading in that vlog is Horror Movie by Paul Tremblay. I absolutely love these red sprayed edges. And this is about like a cult classic horror film that was really intense that is being remade, I believe, only with one member of the original cast. So it's getting like this modernized reboot, but the guy who's returning from the original cast knows some things about the original production that are kind of shady, and those same shady things start happening yet again with the reboots. This one sounds really good. I love the cover. cover. I love the edges. Like, I'm just super excited for this one. Also, Paul Tremblay, I tend to either really like or really hate, and because I already like the synopsis, I'm hoping that this is one that I really like. So some of those are kind of like thrillery, some of them are kind of horror-y, but they're all gonna be based around like classic horror tropes. So excited for it. The next vlog I'm planning on filming is also kind of set around horror a little bit. I'm gonna be reading some sequels to some of my favorite books of all time that I know a lot of y'all have read. So I'm gonna give y'all the tea on if you should pick up this sequel or not. Starting out with First Light by Liz Kieran. This is the follow-up to Night's Edge, which was one of my favorite books of last year. It's a bisexual vampire pandemic. That is the best way that I can describe it. In the first book, we are following our main character who is simultaneously taking care of her mother who has vampirism. That is the pandemic that the current world in this book is going through, is a vampirism pandemic. So her mom has vampirism. You're supposed to turn in anyone who is becoming a vampire, but she doesn't. Her and her mom are kind of in hiding, and at the same time as she's dealing with that, she's also figuring out her queer identity and falling in love with the barista at her local coffee shop. So kind of romance, kind of horror, kind of thriller, kind of like post-apocalyptic pandemic kind of thing. It's a very, very unique book, and I absolutely adored the first one. This is the follow-up, and we are picking up right where the last one ended off. I believe it was at a music festival. So I guess we will be picking up there. Oh, no. It says it's been 9 months since the catastrophe from the last book, but our main character is not running away from the darkness. She is running toward it, obsessively pursuing the person who afflicted her and her mother's lives alongside her new love. Also in that vlog, I'll be reading The Final Slaughter by Sergio Gomez. This is the last installation in the Slaughter trilogy. These are some classic slashers. I cannot wait for this one. We are following varias caras. And if you don't know, that is Spanish for many faces or various faces. I hope I am translating that correctly, but it's basically a like man of many masks, okay? He is our villain that we're following through all of the slasher books in this trilogy. He's a cannibalistic serial killer who wears a leather mask made of the faces of his victims, and he just likes to collect what he calls Barbies to kind of, in a roundabout way, try to heal his mother wound. And the Barbies are unfortunately real life women. So there's a lot going on there. I'm excited to kind of like finalize the lore around this villain who is so masterfully crafted by Sergio Gomez. I love these books. They're such great slashers, and they read exactly like some of my favorite horror movies. The last book I'll be including in that vlog is Tastes Like Candy 2 by Ivy Tholen. And this is obviously the sequel to Taste Like Candy, which I read a couple summers ago when I was absolutely obsessed with like carnival and amusement park slasher books. This is the follow-up. I guess it will be taking place in the same amusement park with another group of teens that are going to get picked off one by one in a very classic slasher setup. And I just want to mention, if you are freaked out by horror or intense horror is not your thing, Tastes Like Candy is definitely more tame than most of the horror books that I read. I believe it's YA or YA adjacent. So if you're a wimp, don't worry, you might like this one. I also have some taste tests to read for this month. I want to start my Abby Jimenez taste test, but I don't know what books to read. Okay, I mentioned that I wanted to read Yours Truly in a previous TBR, but everyone yelled at me in the comments. Okay, y'all were like, you have to read something else first. And then I said that I wanted to read, you know, another one of her books, and she apparently has like companions, and I don't want to get spoiled and blah, 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 blah. So why don't you guys tell me in the comments, where should I start with Abby Jimenez? Do I start with her first book that she ever came out with and read them in publication order? Is there a certain series that you guys want me to read? Is there a duo of companion novels that I should include in a taste test? Whatever you guys want me to start with, I will go ahead and include in my Abby Jimenez taste test for July. So just let me know down below, seriously, if you want me to do that video. let me know, because if you don't, I'm gonna be honest, I probably will film it. My other taste test will be a horror thriller taste test for Alison Rumfitt. I have 2 of her books here. The first one is Tell Me I'm Worthless, and this is about 2 girls who have a crazy experience in a house, like a haunted house. And now 3 years later, they are returning to the house where everything originally went down to face the horrors that happened there, and have been since pulling themselves apart from the inside out. It's described as culturally disruptive and darkly funny, which I love that for my horror and thrillers. You guys know I love some like dry, dark humor, so I'm hoping I'm going to get that in here. Also, it's a very vague synopsis, so I love kind of going in semi-blind. And then the other one that I'll be reading for that taste test is Brain Worms, and this is about a trans woman, and she works at a place that is bombed by a TERF, a trans exclusionary radical feminist. If you don't know what that is, think J.K. Rowling. Okay, they call themselves feminists, but they exclude trans women from that definition, which, yeah, you can just go ahead and have that. TERFs, we hate you here. So to pull her out of this funk, a mysterious kind of ethereal woman befriends our main character, but she starts to notice pretty quickly that this woman isn't everything that she originally seemed, and the trauma that she's healing her from might be part of a bigger conspiracy involving her new friend. It's gonna have some really great LGBTQIA commentary, some political commentary in here, which y'all know I love in my horror when it has something to say. That is so important to me. And I should mention that this is an Own Voices book as well, so love, love, love Own Voices trans rep. Next up, I have a few thrillers that I'm interested in reading. Of course, I'm going to be doing a new release thriller vlog. I'm not sure what I'm going to put in there. I think I'll probably do what I did this past month, which I really liked, where I put 2 new releases and then 2 backlist. That's going to really help me read from my massive physical TBR. So here are a few that I might include in that video. First up, we have a new release from Natasha Preston, and this is The Dare, and it's all about this senior high school class, and every senior has to like do a dare. It's like their senior prank kind of thing, but some of them have deadly consequences. Very vague. Y'all know how I feel about Natasha Preston. She's sometimes a good little quick fun time, and the other majority of the time, to be real, it's like a 1 star. So it's a risk, but I'm willing to take it. I also have The Truth About the Accident by Nicole Trope, and this one just sounded so good to me. It's so vague. Basically, this woman's husband gets in an accident and he cannot survive because she cannot have people know the truth about what actually happened to him. I'm believing just off the initial synopsis that she was involved in some way, and this is going to be some type of good for her situation. The description kind of reminds me of The Perfect Marriage by Geneva Rose for some reason, so I'm excited to see if it's similar at all. I don't know why that just stood out in my mind, the way that it's described, just something about it. I feel like it's going to give Geneva Rose, so I will let y'all know what I think, obviously, in that vlog. And then this is one, I'm not sure if it's new. Hold on, let me see. Yeah, this is not a new release. It came out in 2019, but my mom really liked it and she gave it to me, so I definitely want to read it. She read it super fast and she said it got her out of a slump, so I totally trust her, and we will see how I feel about it. It says we are following a neuroscientist on the trail of a serial killer who's turned up the heat on a cold case. We're following a special agent, which my mom said she knows I usually don't like to follow a FBI person or like an investigator, but she said it's worth it, so we'll see. It sounds like kind of like Mindhunter vibes, because this FBI agent studies the minds of psychopaths and serial killers, but she did not expect to uncover a killer within the FBI itself. She's exposing all of this internal corruption, and now she's back in the field killed when a cadaver dog falls into a sinkhole filled with human bones. Dating back almost 2 decades, and the same time a beloved local teen disappeared. Heating up the cold case of this teen's disappearance, along with some fresh corpses among the bones, she has to put all of this evidence together, along with what she knows about neuroscience and serial killers, to catch this person. Honestly, it's kind of giving like Silence of the Lambs. It's kind of giving the new horror movie Longlegs that's about to come out, which I cannot wait to see. So who knows, maybe I'll be in like my Longlegs era and this will be the perfect thing for me to read. Next up, let's get into some romances I'll be interested in reading this month. I have Before I Let Go by Kennedy Ryan. I read one book in this trilogy, but I haven't read this one. This is the other one. I'm not sure the order they go in, but I honestly don't really care because I will read anything Kennedy Ryan writes at this point. This is going to be an emotional romance following our main character, Yasmin, who could not save her marriage, but now she is bouncing back, co-parenting with her ex. So I think they're going to find each other again. I think it's a second chance romance post-divorce, which should be really interesting. I love a romance about a married couple or like a long-term established couple because, y'all, I'm married. I've been in my same relationship for like 7.5 years now. So it's like, I don't get the like new butterfly feeling. Okay, I need something about an established couple. I also have This Summer Will Be Different by Carly Fortune, and this is about a tourist who is being shown around this little summer town by a hot guy. And I'm pretty sure they're gonna start hooking up and fall in love. I also, if you remember earlier this summer, loved Magnolia Parks. So I have the second one in the Magnolia Parks like world, and that is Daisy Hates. Okay, this is not following Magnolia and BJ, unfortunately, but I have to read it to read the next Magnolia and BJ book. So this is following Daisy and Christian, I believe. It says, it's so vague. It says there's no guns allowed at the dinner table. So this is going to be like mafia weird vibes. I don't like mafia. I don't like it, but we'll see how I feel about this because I have to read it to continue the series. All 20-year-old Daisy Hates has ever wanted is a normal life. But as the sister of London's most notorious gang lord, she knows better than most that in this life, everything comes at a price. So I'm pretty sure her dating Christian is going to come at a price. It's also going to involve Miss Magnolia. So I don't know. We'll see how things go. It's going to be drama. It's going to be rich people. I'm into it. And I was supposed to read this book in June, but the vacation I wanted to read it on, I literally forgot the book and I was so upset. So I'm going to read it now. I have to like have a day to just like carve out and read it and binge it in a day because that's how I like to read Emily Henry books. Obviously we have a funny story here, and I actually had 2 people like of my real life friends who read this book, and both of them separately texted me and said this main character is you. It is like talking to you reading this book. So I'm super excited. I hope they're right. Also, I'm a little scared about how I'm perceived by my friends. It says it's a funny story. Daphne always loved the way her fiance Peter told their story, how they met, fell in love, and moved back to his lakeside hometown to begin their life together. He was really good at telling it, right up until the moment he realized he was actually in love with his childhood best friend. Now Daphne's beginning her new story, stranded in beautiful Waning Bay, Michigan, with her dream job as a children's librarian and proposing to be roommates with the only person who could possibly understand her predicament, Petra's ex. Oh my god. Her ex-fiance's new partner's ex, Miles. He is scruffy and he is chaotic, with a penchant for taking solace in the sounds of heartbreak love ballads. He is exactly the opposite of practical Daphne, whose co-workers know very little about her and have a running bet she's either FBI or in witness protection. Okay, avoidant queen, maybe this is me. The roommates mainly avoid one another until one day, drowning in their sorrows, they form a tenuous friendship. And a plan, which also involves posting deliberately misleading photos of their adventures together. Oh my gosh, I feel like the fake dating in this is gonna give me January and Augustus from Beach Read. I'm so excited. Next up, I have a contemporary literary fiction book about generational trauma. This is the new one from Ann Napolitano, and it is called Within Arm's Reach. It's about a avoidant Irish Catholic family, are really close-knit and connected, but they never talk about emotions or use words to describe the way how they feel about each other or how they love each other. So we're following the 3 generations through life's highs and lows as we figure out how that affects them. And this just sounds so good. I also have a couple magical realism books that I'm interested in, starting out with Acts of Violet by Margarita Montemor. This is about a woman who was a magician, and her last final trick was she literally made herself disappear. Okay, nobody knows how it happened, if it was actual magic, what have you, until this documentarian is kind of going through and trying to discover how she pulled off this last trick. And he is doing that by interviewing her sister. So we are following him and the sister as they look into Violet's disappearance. Another magical realism pick that sounds really good, right up my alley, is The Husbands by Holly Gramazio. This is about just a normal woman who one day comes downstairs and she's like, who in the hell are you? She does not recognize her husband. And she's like, I'm not married. This is not my life. What is going on? Well, he goes up to the attic to get something or change a light bulb or do something. And he disappears. And a new husband comes down from the attic. So she's cycling and cycling and cycling through husbands as they go up in the attic and come down different people. I guess she's just living all of these lives. And she has to confront the question, if swapping lives is as easy as changing a light bulb, how do you know when you've taken the right path? When do you stop trying to do better and just start living? Ooh, sounds so good. I love the woman discovering herself, kind of feminist themes. I love the idea of not building your life around a man, and I love the magical realism elements. And the last few books I have here are some more horror because I'm kind of easing back into my horror era. The first one is, well, it's kind of horror, kind of thriller. It is Phantom Limb by Lucinda Berry. This is my Pretty Girl book club pick for the month of July. It's a backlist thriller. It's on Kindle Unlimited, so it's really accessible. Anyone can read it. If you want to read along with my book club and discuss with us, you can always join the Pretty Girl book club over on Patreon. It's always linked down below. And my book club is available for my top 2 tiers, the $5.99 one and the $11.99 one. So we will be reading about these twins. Again, this is a really intense, that's why I put it in horror category, really intense psychological thriller with mental health rep, generational trauma rep. We love Lucinda Berry in this house, and this is only one of, I think, 2 or 3 that I have left to complete her entire backlist and then give y'all the full author ranking video, which I can't wait to do. I also want to read from another author I've read from before, The Salt Grows Heavy by Cassandra Caw. This is a really teensy tiny horror novella about a mermaid whose daughters ravage a town. So she has to escape and she's on the run and all these things happen. It sounds like a dark fairy tale kind of thing. Super short, it's mermaidy, so I imagine it's kind of summery. I'm into it. And then I have a couple more horror sequels. Well, these are 2 books in the same trilogy, but I don't want to commit to putting them in that vlog because they're really long and I really didn't love the first one, so I don't know if I'm gonna like these or even get through them. I don't know, we'll see. I have Don't Fear the Reaper and The Angel of Indian Lake by Stephen Graham Jones. These are the follow-ups to My Heart is a Chainsaw. I didn't love that one until up to the 80% mark. Okay, the first 80% I did not like. The last 20% was phenomenal, amazing chef's kiss. So I'm hoping that the rest rest of the series is better and continues on that last 20% trajectory. We're following Jade in the first book, who is obsessed with horror movies, and she is convinced that there's going to be a slasher movie that basically takes place in her town, and she thinks she knows who the final girl is. So the whole first book, she's trying to convince this girl, like, you're going to be the final girl, you have to make it out alive, when really, like, she herself is kind of the final girl, and that's kind of like the message of it all. So we have a second one and a third one. I don't know how we're possibly going to expand on that story, but I've heard that the second one is so good in particular, so I'm open to seeing it through. And those are all of the books that I want to read in July. Like I said, this is very ambitious, so we'll see how many I really get through. If you want to see my progress throughout the month, you can follow me on Instagram. I'm always posting about what I'm reading. And if you are in my Discord for my Patreon, we're always talking about books in there as well. And of course, you gotta subscribe. Subscribe for all of the vlogs, all the fun things that are referenced in this TBR that will be coming out throughout the month of July. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you liked it, go ahead and give it a like and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Don't forget to go to therapy and read a book this week, and I will see you guys in my next one. Bye!